Good evening, all. Good evening, all of you. Welcome to the 15th session of WCOP 3 months training program on school counseling. My hearty welcome to the Chief Patron, Professor P.V. Ramurthy, Chief Patron and Chairman of WCOP, Professor Girishwar Mishra, Chairman of this program, Professor V. Ganeshan, and Patron, Professor R.N. Singh. I also extend my welcome to the chairperson, Professor A.R. Krishnamurthy, the core committee member of WCOP. Guest of honor, Professor T. Bharati, who is also the core committee member of WCOP. Special invitee, Dr. K. Balakrishnamurthy, Secretary of WCOP. And the resource person of today, Professor R. Subhashini Madam. I also extend my hearty welcome to the President, Professor B.G. Reddy Garu, the President of WCOP, General Secretary, and once again, today's resource person, Professor R. Subhashini, the Treasurer, Professor V. Suresh, the coordinator of this program, Professor K. Ashok, all the executive committee members, core committee members, and all the participants of this evening. I extend my hearty welcome to all of you this pleasant evening. And I request now our President, Professor B.G. Reddy, to address the gathering.
Everybody, I'm happy to announce that today we are entering into 15th session of this WCOP 3 months training program on school counseling. I welcome and today's chairperson, Professor A.R. Krishnamurthy, then today's guest of honor, Professor Tummapudi Bharati, and today's speaker and General Secretary of this WCOP, then Professor V. Suresh, Treasurer of WCOP, and other core committee members who are with us, then executive committee members, then other beloved participants. So once again, welcoming everybody for today's session. Again, I wish you all luck for everybody. Now, I request Dr. Chini Simon to go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our chairperson of today's session, Professor A.R. Krishnamurthy, who is also the core committee core committee member of WCOP, to speak a few words addressing the gathering. Professor A.R. Krishnamurthy is a clinical psychological consultant and physiotherapist in Mansa Nursing Home, Shivamogga. He guided 20 MPhil and 5 PhD scholars with more than 40 years of teaching experience and over 25 years of practice in psychological treatment. He served as professor and chairman in the Department of Clinical Psychology. He also served as BOS chairman and member of board examination in Bangalore University and Kuvempu University. He won Best Resource Person Award by Manasa Education Foundation, Mysore, and Sri APJ Abdul Kalam Lifetime Achievement Award. Sir, we are very, very happy to have such a pleasing personality with us this evening. I request you now to speak a few words to the group.
Thank you, madam. I am audible?
Yes, sir, yes.
Yes, thank you. It is a pleasure to be a part of the ongoing program and the opportunity given to me to chair this session. Professor Subhashini, she is going to speak about the process of counseling probably. Hitherto, we used to attend with the questions from the audience, that is the participants, and respond to them as how counseling can be carried on with the different problem situations such as phobias, anxieties, examination tension, or other kinds of problems, adjustmental problems with the peer group, and then bullying, submissiveness, and so on. So with this, I think our teachers are going to get more benefit. I studied in regard to problems of high school students about 50 years back, and found that on an average, a student will have about 40 to 50 issues in the various areas such as health and finance, then living conditions, interpersonal relationship, adjusting to the curriculum, adjusting to the classroom, and then moral issues, and so on. So what I found was it is very necessary to help these students at that level. To share one of my experience, a student who had been admitted to high school, 8th standard, was not inclined to attend classes. He wanted to run away from home also. When this was brought to my notice, I inquired the student child about the problem. After getting report, very good, I played with him chess because he was very much interested in chess playing. Later on, he only volunteered what was the issues that were troubling him. So he had been reprimanded in a school, in a classroom because he was inattentive. Though he was very studious and very intelligent, the teacher who was repeating the lesson got hold of him and scolded him. And that too is a new admittant to the classroom, to the class where newcomers were there. Familiar students were in another section, his batchmates. So it had embarrassed him, and he wanted to get a change from one section to the other section where he had his peer group who had studied earlier. So when this was also declined, he wanted to run away. So he was locked in a room because of his rough activities, crying, shouting, and all that. So later on, when this was brought to the teacher's notice, and a patch was made, that is, a teacher understood his condition and encouraged him to study well. So, and also when he was encouraged to read books from Rashtrottanam, which was on patriots, which was his desire, it helped him to overcome his problem. So this way, when we are sensitive to the needs of the students, teachers particularly, they can help a lot. With this few words, I think Professor Ubashini is going to give more details about how to handle the students in a classroom situation. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Madam Chini Simon.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your experience with us. Certainly, your words are very, very helpful to us, and your encouragement is definitely needed for us to improve more. Now, we have with us Professor T. Bharati from Sri Padmavati Mahila University as our guest of honor this evening. I request you, ma'am, to kindly address the gathering. Professor T. Bharati joined as lecturer in Sri Padmavati Mahila University, Tirupati. She also served as reader and dean in the same university, and at present working as professor in the same university. More than 30 years of teaching experience. She supervised over 15 PhD and 3 MPhil scholars, and she published over 65 articles in various journals of national and international reputation. She has visited many countries such as Greece, Taiwan, China, Canada, South Africa, and South Korea. She is also a core committee member of Wcop. Such a learned person you are, ma'am. We are very, very happy to have you with us this evening among us. I request you now to address the gathering.
Thank you, Dr. Chinni Simon, for your kind words. Professor B.G. Reddy, President WCP, Professor V. Ganeshan, Chairman of the program, entire program, and Professor Krishnamurthy, today's chairperson, and the special and very important speaker, resource person, Professor R. Subhashini. She's also General Secretary of WCOP, and also the speaker. A very good evening to you all. This program, which is very relevant today, which is very essential today, which is the need of the hour, and also a very critical situation we are facing in, because especially after the COVID situation, because during these 2 years COVID period, we have asked the students to be online, to use the mobiles, to use the systems and all. But now we have come to a stage where, or how to stop, because just today I saw a news, a 8th standard student, a girl, when her mother said that she is using the phone too much and asked her to stop, she disappeared and she committed suicide. So even very, very small, it appears very small, but for them it may be a great worst problem. But now we do not know how to tackle with this, whether it is the responsibility of teachers or the parents or the society. Because we ourselves said don't use the phone, and we only say use the phone. So the students will get confused when to use or when not to use, how to use, where to use. So it is a very critical situation where the WCOP has created a platform where these counselors and experts and trainers can share and come out with certain better solutions, and especially the motto like training oneself and training others, because it's a mutual training. As I said just now, that still we need to learn a lot, because every few days things are changing, every few hours things are changing. We do not know what sort of a life we are leading at present, what we do is right or wrong, whether the children are also in very confused situation, and the society or the parents or the teachers who are going to clear their confusion, sometimes we ourselves do not know. So it is the WCOP is making it is a collective effort where all of us can share the problems which we come across, and where we can come out with certain better solutions. I appreciate the WCOP for conducting this workshop, which is very relevant, which is very essential, and also typical of Professor BG Reddy, asking the people to write the records and attending compulsory. Though it is a free course, but he expects that we should learn something when we get out of this program. I once again, my special thanks even to Ganeshan sir for his patience in being present with all these sessions. Almost half of the course is over, but I think this is the 15th one, and this is a 3 months training program. And equally important and essential person is Dr. Chinni Simon, whom I think B.J. Reddy always has so much of praise for you for your meticulous arrangements of the program. Yes, these are very important to help each other to continue our commitment. Sometimes we may be very good people, but the circumstances will make us to become a little dull in our activities. But when we come together, certainly this will help each other to pat our backs and become more and more committed. Yes, students' problems are very glaring now, glaring problems, essential to be tackled. And I think the teachers are also in a very difficult situation. I think they are sandwiched between the parents and the government. I do not know how they are going to face the because teachers nowadays are not given freedom to deal with the students. The teachers are not enemies of the students, but they are not given a free hand to deal with the teachers. And some outside forces are controlling them. And that is the reason why I think teachers are not as committed as we had our teachers. But it is not a comment on them. I appreciate, I understand their problems. I think I should not take much of the time because we are all like to listen to Professor R. Subhashini. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Just before starting, Professor Subhashini Madam, I would like to inform the participants. So, so far, up to 14th session, we have almost the majority of the psychological problems which are being faced by the students at the school level up to high school, as well as the problems faced by the parents, as well as problems faced by the teachers. In theoretical topics are being covered, then it will not be called as a total. I think majority of the problems we have covered up to 14th session, and even today, Madam is going to just similarly 15th session today, and remaining only I think 8 sessions are there, 9 sessions are there, and here and minimum 5 to 6 theoretical topics are also be just included in this 3 months training program. And meanwhile, any of the problems which the participants wanted to get clarified through this platform, you are most welcome. So that's why just I requested our General Secretary, Professor Subhashini Madam, today to deal a theoretical topic which is quite apt and relevant to this workshop. So this is for you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Professor Bharti Garu, for stressing the need for school counseling, especially when the children are when the children are addicted to the mobile gaming and all, where actually during this pandemic period, children are addicted to the mobile, and parents are also facing a lot of problems, as well as the teachers in the school, and hope these classes will help us to improve the students' behavior as well as the attendance in the school, both to promote their participation in classroom activities as well. Now we are entering now into the actual training of today's session. I request now our resource person of the day and the secretary of WCOP, Professor R. Subhashini Garu, to conduct the session. To speak about Subhashini Madam, she has completed PhD from Madras University, over 40 years of teaching and research experience as lecturer, reader, and professor of psychology in JBAS PG College for Women, Chennai. At present, she is working as Dean, the Madras School of Social Work, Chennai. She guided 68 MPhil students and 8 PhD scholars. She has published more than 60 research articles in various journals of national and international reputation. She is the founder general secretary of Inspired Professional Psychologists Society of India. She is also the founder general secretary of Superannuated Psychologists Society of India. And now she is also the General Secretary of WCOP. Such a reputed person you are, ma'am. We are very, very happy to listen to you. Definitely, we are going to fetch a lot from your speech today, I think. So I request you now, ma'am, to take up over the session and conduct the session.
Madam, please unmute. Madam, please unmute yourself. చెప్పచ్చు కదా చిన్ని సైమన్.
Madam Subhashni, please unmute yourself, madam. I request our Subhashni madam to start your video and unmute yourself.
Madam, Subhashini madam, please unmute yourself.
Sir, as a host, you can do it, sir. You can do it from yourself, sir. You are host, sir. You can do it.
అశోక్
సార్ చెప్పండి సార్.
మిమ్మల్ని హోస్ట్ చేస్తాము.
చేయండి సార్, చేయండి. చేయండి.
ఇప్పుడు ఆ మేడం గారిని అన్మ్యూట్ చేయి.
ఓకే సార్, ఓకే. ఫస్ట్ టు అన్మ్యూటే వస్తుంది సార్. యాక్చువల్గా మేడం డిస్కనెక్ట్ అయ్యారు, మళ్ళీ కనెక్ట్ అయ్యారు. సార్ ఆస్క్ టు అన్మ్యూట్ ఆప్షన్ వస్తుంది, నాకు ఆప్షన్ రావట్లేదు. మేడం కాల్ చేయాల్సిందే సార్. సార్ ప్లీజ్ కాల్ ద మేడం.
Madam, now you speak.
Okay, very good evening to all of you assembled. Thank you, Govinda Reddy sir, for giving me this opportunity, and all the others, especially Chini Simon, who gave a wonderful introduction. Professor Bharati, who I think just like a book's forward, she talked about the course and its importance. Professor Krishnamurthy, who shared a good experience about himself and made it known to the teaching audience who are participants of this program, how important it is to be along with a teacher counselor, or a teacher has a counselor, because counseling becomes an integrated part of teaching also. So and of course, I think all throughout you have been hearing to Professor Ganesan, who is, I used to call him an encyclopedia. Today, nobody talks about encyclopedias. Everybody is talking about Google. So probably he is a Google for counseling with his varied practicing. As a practitioner, I think he has met varied clients with varied problems. So probably I would say today, use the word Google for Professor Ganesan. Of course, our constant, I won't say support, he's probably the brainchild of the entire, everything that is happening with WCOP. The brainchild is Professor Govinda Reddy, a big mentor for me also, and because of whom I'm associated with this organization. Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I will, of course, I heard that a number of sessions, about 14 sessions or so, you have had more of a practical experience listening to how you can resolve varied, I wouldn't say problems, I would say issues that students encounter, both has, it could be at a personal level, it could be an interpersonal relationship problem, it could be health issues, it could be career or academic issues. So there are varied issues that's why I'm not using the word problem, because these are things that at different stages of life one encounters and it passes off. Okay, a counselor's role. So probably I would talk on the importance of counseling, how a counselor can help you at that point of time. Because there are situations where probably it can be a little more deep-rooted, where you need an external support. Most of us go through emotional issues. It lingers with us for a day or two, but then we pass through it. And mostly by God's grace, everything gets resolved. But there are situations where it gets a little more, we feel that hurt strongly, and therefore there is, and it affects our other life situations. For example, getting up late, or getting emotionally too disturbed, like there's fear, anxiety, or feeling stressed for everything, feeling frustrated. So there could be varied things that is disturbing a person. There is the problem or the issue is something, but it's disturbing the whole, not eating properly. So it can deviate, or it can sort of take you away from your routine, disturb your routine. If that is so, then probably you need to go to a counselor. And fortunately today, most schools have a counselor who can help. And then why the whole idea of this program itself is to see that teachers get equipped as counselors. So that's why this program was organized. And it's very nice that you have a practicum input, you have a theoretical input, you have your own, where you will have to write reports, counseling reports that you know, so it will make you a stronger person in the field of counseling. So with that brief note, I will take on to the topic itself. The topic given to me is on characteristics of counseling, but before that, I will also talk about, because characteristics of a counselor is the topic given to me, but then I would also tell you about a brief note on counseling, because till now, probably this is the first theoretical class as such that you're having. So I will talk about counseling per se. Now, the word counseling itself, it refers to any sort of a professional relationship that you have between one person being called a client and another person being called the counselor. The difference between the client and the counselor, if you look back, we already had counselors in the form of a parent, it was a teacher, it was a relative, it was an aunt, a cousin. So we have had somebody who counseled us or who advised us or who helped us when we were feeling emotionally low. Today, there has been a need for a professional counselor. So there is a difference between somebody who advises you, because when that advice or that counseling comes from a known circle, it is very subjective. So there is a subjectivity attached when it is a friend who is advising you, you have an issue and a friend advises you, then, or if it's a parent also, it is, for example, a child who says, I want to become an entrepreneur. The father who has absolutely no knowledge on being a businessman would discourage, saying that, oh, it's so safe to go to work, you get employed, you get a salary at the end of the month. Business means there's so much of risk, and then you'll have to be creative, innovative, there are competitions. So he is talking from his experience rather than trying to find out what is this child or what is his son or daughter capable of. Whereas a professional counselor would try to see what is the capacity of the client or the person who's come for advice. So then he will assess a lot of things, the aptitude part, the interest part, the financial strength of the person, the determination of whatever he wants to do. All those things will be taken into account before he says that, yes, go ahead with your entrepreneurship career, or you think that it is not the right thing for you, so change to something. So it is very objectively done rather than very subjectively done. So that is why that word professional advice or professionalism is very important, because a counselor is supposed to be very professional. And why I said there can be a client and a counselor. There are situations where there is something called group counseling, where you have one counselor and you have a number of clients at the same time. So there are certain issues where it need not be a one-to-one relationship. It can be even a small group of people, about 8 to 10 clients can be there, and where the problems and issues are similar, there is something called group counseling. So at this point, we'll just say that there is a possibility of a group counseling session also. Generally, a client counselor one-to-one sessions are very common and very popular, and mostly immediately taken up whenever there is a need for counseling. Now, counseling itself can be thought of in different ways. One is, it is supposed to be remedial or curative, okay? So there is a problem, there is an issue, the client has come. So there's, say, for example, too much of anxiety a child is experiencing, and because of which he is now, his scores have gone down, his grades have gone down, his marks have gone down. He's showing a lot of, otherwise he was quite interested in his academics, but of late you see that the child is not interested in academics, or his scores are, he's scoring very poorly in his exams. So then in which case there is a need for cure. Okay, why is this child showing this anxiety and this disinterest in academics? So you need to remedy, you need to change that person, you need to cure that person. So remedial and curative. There are situations where it can be to, like it can be just for, okay, some people are very withdrawn. Okay, and there is a need for, they say that if your social abilities are good, intellectual people know where, to what extent they need to be social also. And social skills are very important. Emotional maturity and social skills are very important for a person. So you can sometimes just introspect or go into yourself and in depth getting to know yourself, or what you say personality development can be thought of as the role of a counselor can also be that. It can be preventive in nature also, in the sense that, for example, I gave you an example of anxiety itself. Why do children in the 12th standard and the 10th standard before exams, there is a session on how to reduce anxiety, how to face exams. So that is probably a preventive measure even before the child experiences. For everybody, you can give a session like that. So you can say that, yes, these are the ways in which you see that you're well prepared for a test or an exam, so that you don't face anxiety. So that can also, so then it becomes a preventive. We have a lot of preventive things. For example, today for COVID, okay, what are the health measures that you need to take care so that you don't, your chances of getting COVID is very much minimized. So that is where you're talking about a preventive measure. It could be health related. Excuse me. It could be health related, it can be family related. Okay, for example, premarital counseling is a preventive thing when it comes to marriage. So especially, yes, you should, even teachers can also talk sometimes about premarital counseling, about, for example, any health issues, that obesity is catching up among students. So you can talk about health and obesity, how to keep yourself fit. Nutrition is very important. Physical exercise is very important. So how do you take care of yourself? So that is a preventive thing rather than becoming obese and thinking how to reduce. Okay, and so psychosocial skills are very important for anybody because we need to relate to people. Nobody is living in an island, or nobody lives isolate or alone. So we need to know interpersonal relationships. To what extent can you go close to a person, and what extent you need to stay away. So you should know that also. So that is something on personal and psychosocial issues. And also, where there are gifted children, you must be in a class, you might have gifted children, you might have the children that are less than average. So the gifted children need to be encouraged to be very much motivated to score better, to divert their abilities and skills into varied fields, so that they don't get bored in class. So as a teacher, counselor, you should even think in terms of, so even a role of a counselor is to see that you promote creativity and enthusiasm and motivate people to develop whatever skills and abilities they possess. So these are the main things of why you need counseling, or what is the purpose of counseling in any institution. Now, yes, we said that there must be a counselor and a client. So a client in this context, it could be your student. If you're practicing, we call them a client. If otherwise, it will be a student client who can be coming to one of you all for help. Okay. Now, the purpose of counseling itself, the objective or purpose or the aim of counseling, why does a person come to you? Basically, I said that it must disturb their daily routine. To some extent, it should disturb their daily routine. It should be, there must be a strong desire for change. Just like we talk about counselor characteristics, there's something like client characteristics. We say the first important thing is, unless there is a desire to change, the client will not change. Okay, so we must motivate. So the role of a counselor is to motivate the client to change. Say that this behavior of yours, say marks of score, your scores have gone down. You are getting 80%, now it has come down to 60 marks. So why are you losing out on marks? Whatever it is an academic, it's a mark-oriented society. Why are you scoring? Your ability is that you are able to score 80. Today, something has happened to you, you are scoring 60. Would you like to get back to 80? If the child says yes, then surely there is a need to change. He has shown that desire to change. A child who is getting only 40, 50 marks, But he comes to you and says, why, madam, I'm not able to change. I want to get something like 70 marks at least. Then you can help him. So there's a desire to change. Okay. So I prepare so well for an exam, but when I come to write the exam, somewhere there's something like a writer's cramp. I'm not able to write. I stop, my whole thought process stops. I'm not able to recall my answers. Then again, there is and now he's disturbed, he's agitated that he's not able to perform, even though he has prepared well. That means there is a desire to change. So wherever it is, he's not getting along with a friend, he's not getting along with his parents, something. Adolescents go through a lot of phases where even, there is some sort of a disturbance in relationships. So then when he or she comes to you and expresses that something is disturbing them and they want to change, that is the most important thing. So client characteristics would be desire to change. Otherwise, the counselor should see that he should motivate the client to change. The role of a counselor is what? To provide assistance. Okay, we are supposed to, as counselors, provide some sort of a support so that he is changing. He's willing to change. Now you must support him to change. Now, what can help him change? What is the biggest, Freud said, that it is just psychology. Psychological counseling is what? Is like a talk therapy. All that the client, you are allowing your client to talk. Your student is going to pour out whatever is troubling him, and you are going to be very supportive. So you should be a good listener. So your most important role or your characteristic is you should be open to listening. You should listen to whatever he says. If he's, especially the first few sessions, first one session at least, you must allow him to. That's why Freud has used the word free association itself. Allow him to talk whatever he feels like. He feels like pouring out a lot of things. And it can be a little disconnected also, because he himself does not know what is troubling him or her, what is troubling. So probably he'll just pour out. So encourage the client to come out with whatever he wants to share. And when you are doing that, you will be showing that I care for you. If you go on interrupting him and asking him too many questions, probing and all that, that is not a good counselor's role, because the person becomes defensive. The client will become defensive. Your student will become defensive. He will see, oh, this teacher is trying to find out something. So he starts withdrawing. So just listen to him for some time, because listening is very important because by listening, you're showing that you're showing your client that you respect your client, you care for your client, you empathize with your client, you're genuine in trying to see that he gets, corrects himself or changes himself. So this is some things that you should keep in mind to provide assistance to solve problems whenever there is an interpersonal. And most important is, don't be judgmental. Okay, being judgmental is very bad. Or we use the word, like there is a psychologist who uses the word unconditional positive regard. It means that whatever the problem, whoever the person, just this Janaki scores 90 marks, so she's very clever. We are not bothered about whether she's scoring high marks, or another Hari scores 40 marks. We are not bothered. He has come to you for help. So it's whether Hari or Janaki, and whatever their marks, whatever their economic status, all those things are not important. What is important is, what is this child being disturbed about? So unconditional positive regard is respect your client for whatever or whoever she is or he is, without any condition. So to establish a big rapport, that's what they say, rapport building is very important. Establish a good relationship or a rapport. It should be very professional in nature. We are all aiming at better mental health. At the end of the day, the child goes away with a better state of mind. That is what is important. So we call it positive mental health or a better mental health, or self-realization comes to feel that, yes, this is what's troubling me and I'm going to get over it. So give him that confidence that he or she will get over it. This too will pass, should be the thought that the client should start getting. Adjustments are very important issues. Today, people are not able to adjust. Adjustments accommodate each other. social, in a social context, you must be able to accommodate, you must be able to adjust. Most important is accept people for what they are. Don't talk about adjustments and things, because accept, if your parent is a disciplinarian, accept that, yes, my father is a disciplinarian. That is a better way of understanding the father's role rather than adjusting to him, because at some time you feel frustrated. A teacher who is strict is in the interest of the student. So I accept the teacher is very strict. So fall into, help your client to understand that people who are disciplinarians are the ones who will see that your future is much more guaranteed than people who are very lenient, things like that. So adjustments are very important. Accepting a person for what he or she is very important. So this is the aim of counseling, is to bring about this sort of an acceptance, sort of self-realization, to support your client without any conditions. Just support him, whoever he is. That's why unconditional positive regard. All that we want is the child should go back with a better state of mental health. Here I'm talking to teachers and therefore focusing more on child and student. Otherwise, the same principles apply to anybody who is doing counseling. Yes. So now coming to some of the principles or characteristics also is acceptance. Accept your client for whatever he or she is. All of us are to understand the most important thing is accept, okay? Unconditionally accept your client. We allow some sort of a permissiveness in your client so that he is able to grow, develop with, so he feels free to come out with and to come out freely with whatever he wants to, so that there is some, you will be optimistic and bring about optimal change in your client. Respect your client. I already told you that very important is respecting the client for what he is. Accept the thing, make the client understand, and you also as a counselor should understand that all of us make mistakes. There's nothing wrong to have an issue. Everybody goes through certain issues. Some of us are very lucky that we have a very conducive atmosphere, both in school, college, or at home, or in college, we are at the workplace. We have a boss who is quite understanding, a parent who is very understanding, a friend who is so understanding, a spouse who is very understanding. So what happens? We are able to get along. Okay, I show my temper tantrums or my anger. My friend accepts, saying, yes, she's like that, but it's all right. She's very good. So we are all fortunate that we are going through a conducive environment. That's what I mean by saying a conducive environment. But there are times when, there are some bosses who trouble their subordinates a lot. So you think, I must quit this job. I cannot tolerate this boss of mine. So some of us land up with such situations. So when such situations come, there are children who perceive their parents as, like villains or something. Only such people need a lot more support. So that's where counseling comes into mind. So help them think more rationally, help them think more individualistically and rationally. So our purpose of counseling must help them think better. It is, even in counseling, it's a way of learning. So there must be, whether you are talking to a student or not, there is a process of a learning that takes place. Some learning should take place, some unlearning should take place, because a good counselor is a person. Clients do, why are problems there? There is some wrong learning or that has happened, or there's incomplete learning that has taken place. So help the client to learn the right things. So RET, for example, rational emotive therapy, a lot of us have preconceived notions, and therefore we don't think rationally. And therefore, if you are able to change that through your teaching learning process itself, it's a way of learning and teaching itself. So if that can happen, then probably your client will be able to see things better. So help them learn. There must be some consistency in your behavior. You as a counselor should neither be too permissive nor to be too strict, very democratic, one day very democratic, one day very autocratic. So this sort of fluctuations in your behavior should not be there. You must allow your client to talk whatever he wants to share with you. At the same time, see that after some time, see that you are going through the path rather than unnecessarily spending too much time. So that should be also taken care of. Genuineness is one of the prime qualities of a counselor. You must be genuinely interested in trying to help your client. If you don't have that real care, concern for your client or your student, that yes, I must help this child, that must be the prime focus for when it is a client counselor relationship. Genuineness is very important. That care, that love, that desire to bring about a positive change in your client must be the focus, and your full energy must be channelized towards helping your client. So that's very important. Genuineness is very important. You should, I already told you, the most important thing is, just like those days they would have these Swamijis in temples, and you have these fathers in churches, where there's a confession box, and the father does not say anything, the priest does not say anything, but then you just confess. So it's only you speaking out. Similarly, in Hindu temples where there is a priest sitting down, he closes his eyes, he does not even look at you, he closes, but he's listening to whatever you say. It is only a cathartic effect. You are pouring out your problem, you are pouring, that itself gives you a lot of, you're sharing your problem, somebody nicely listening to you, itself gives you some sort of a bliss, some sort of a, it consoles you, it keeps you at balance. So that's very important. So you as a counselor should develop the skill of listening. Why I'm overemphasizing this word? If you listen to your client, you're also showing that you share, you care, you're genuine, all that comes with your listening. If you start asking too many questions, please avoid asking too many probing questions, especially in the early session or the early times of your counseling session, because too many questions make the client become defensive. Like I already told, listening is very important. So develop this ability. They say that keep your ears active and alert, keep your mouth shut. So please practice that. Even in everyday life, it is good to be more of an observer, more of a listener rather than a speaker. Of course, do express your point of view, but then do a lot more of listening also. I already told you about this unconditional positive regard. It is no conditions placed. It can be a rape victim, it can be a victim, a person, a criminal, it can be just a student, it can be anybody. I told you and I gave you an example of these two examples. I'm now telling you, not earlier. I just told you it can be a very affluent student, it can be a poor student who comes from a poor background, a socially marginalized person, whatever it is. We are not bothered about who the person is. We are only bothered about the issue that the client has brought. So unconditional positive regard is very important. Believe in the client. Don't think that he's bluffing. Okay. Now it is at a later stage that you can ask him certain questions to probe, to find out whether he's bluffing. But otherwise, just at face value, he's sharing some things. So just trust or believe the client. So develop that trust in your client also, that yes, this person is genuinely interested in listening to my problem. So believe in whatever the client says. Now your role as a counselor is to find out what is the baggage. When I say what is the baggage, what are the disadvantages, okay, of solving this issue? There are certain strengths, there are certain drawbacks with all of us. So what are the strengths that will help this person resolve the problem? What are the drawbacks, or what is the baggage that the person has that will pull him down from resolving the problem? So you need to also check on what are the, so that you get to know and also assess what are the varied alternatives with the clients, because you don't know, or we don't know what is the life of the client. We don't know much about the client, his family background, his economic status, who are all the people who are, who are all influencing his thoughts. It could be friends, it could be neighbors, it could be anybody. So who are all impacting him? We don't know. So all that you can say is, will this work? Will this work? Will this work? Now, what else can work? So ask the client at that time, make him talk. So problems, solutions you can think of, plan A, plan B, plan C, what all are the alternatives that can help your clients. So look at the advantages and disadvantages. limitations, all of us, I said, if we have our pluses, we also have our minuses. It is very good to know that, yes, people can get angry, people can get frustrated, people can get stressed, people need not score 90 marks. Okay, so all of us should accept that there are, just like our 5 fingers, that people are made of different calibers, ability is different, potentials are different, interests are different. So accept every child for what he is. My thumb is my thumb. It is short and plump. But so can I say that, oh, you're shabby? No, it has its role. My middle finger is longer. So yes, it is longer. It has a role to play. So each of us, each child in the class is unique by itself in its thinking ability, in its functional ability, in many things. So let's accept everybody for what they are. So that is what a good counselor should be. That is the primary quality of a good counselor. Not all of us are very communicative. Some child can speak a lot. Some child can write very nicely. Some child is very good at mathematics. Some child is very good at, drawing. So each one's abilities are different. And similarly, so think of where can the child's interests be focused? Okay, where can you channelize that? So recognize that all of us have limitations. If we have our strengths, we all have our limitations. Be patient. Okay, it can, with one child, probably 2 sessions will be good enough. With another child, it might take 4 sessions. So just be patient to bring about that desired change. Okay, and you must, but from day one, look at some change, small changes you must be able to see in a person. Only then you are going the right way. If a person was very adamant, not sharing, and even if he starts sharing, that smile on the face, all those are small indicators, yes, there is a positive change. So be patient with your client. Yes, free expressions are very important, non-judgmental or unconditional positive regard. They're very related terms, unconditional positive regard and being non-judgmental. Don't judge your client. Okay, this one is short, this one is fat. It's none of our business to know that. Yes, so he gets very angry. No, it's not there. Yes, accept that. Yes, he has this issue, and how do you help that client? Always be focused on the client's issue and his well-being. Our ultimate aim is for well-being of the client. So focus on that. Be very focused on that. You have to update because students are very smart. Youngsters are very smart. Just like I use the word, you must be in a way a small Google. Within our abilities, we should also be, whether if he comes for a career choice, then you should be able to tell him about career choice. It is anything. It could be about varied aspects of life, and therefore you should, okay, what books can I read that can help me self-improve? What books can I, this book in mathematics is not giving me, I'm not able to understand what is the other book alternative, a simpler book that can help me. So we must, as teachers, as counselors, be little knowledgeable. So keep updating yourself and be knowledgeable. When I talked about listening, the most important word, again, I re-emphasize, or there's something in counseling called active listening. So you must, active listening is what to listen to the client. So it's very important because there is something like, if I talk 4 sentences, there is only 4 words that are important. The 4 words can convey the whole message that is to be, that is being conveyed. So be very active. Active listening is you must be able to absorb the crux of whatever the client is saying. Now, active list, see, we have both. There is, if you are seeing me, you can see that my hands are also talking along with my mouth. My head is also talking with my, so we have a lot of gestures. You can observe client behavior. There is something like non-verbal communication and verbal communication. So you must be sensitive to both verbal and non-verbal expressions of your client. So facial expressions, gestures, the tone of voice, all these need to be taken into account. As a counselor, you should be able to be sensitive to that also, because it can be, I might say that I'm very happy, but there is some sort of a sorrow in my eyes and my throat. So you should be able, we as counselors should be sensitive to Yes, he says that he's very happy, but behind this, I see that there is some choking of his voice and there is some wetness in the eye or something. So we must be sensitive to that. Uh, you know, there are times where you need to just be silent so that the person comes out more and more. He thinks and he asks questions. So give him that pause or that time where you make him feel that yes, I'm listening very attentively to you, and he might ask you questions. Yes, ma'am. Is this? I'm telling you all this. What are you? Let him and provoke him to ask you some questions so that he gets a feeling that you are very attentively listening to him. We always talk about the client counselor posture. There's something called solar, where you say sit squarely, lean slightly forward, give him that feeling that I am with you. So slightly lean forward, have an eye contact. So these are some of the feel relaxed. Don't give him the feeling that you are yourself, tensed up or something. So give him that feeling. So these are some of the important things, even as a posture, we need to. So leaning forward just says that I am with you, I'm listening to you. So being attentively listening to you. So as a counselor, and there are a lot of people who sit opposite each other. You preferably have the size client or your student adjacent to you, just not next to you, but diagonally next to you, so that eye contact is maintained. At the same time, there are times when the client is not comfortable looking into your eyes, so he will look straight. So you can even look at that aspect of it. Don't note down too many points or something and make that person scared that, oh, my teacher is noting down all these things. She'll tomorrow go and tell, or she will again recall. So don't give him that fear, or her that fear that we are noting down something. Ask some questions when required. Only when required, ask some questions. They should not be very probing. I mean, you should not jump into, oh, does it mean this? Does it why? Okay, oh, you are having an affair. If you ask a 14-year or 15-year-old, you are having an affair. No, don't probe into it. Let him come out with it. Okay, so don't probe unnecessarily. And try and see you leading questions or open-ended questions are much better than closed-ended questions. So don't say this or that. Give him a question where you say that, what do you think happened after that? Then he will reel out. But if you say, oh, did this happen or that happened, then he has only a choice of this or that. So your questioning pattern also should be more towards open-ended questions. Then don't ask too many questions at a time. Ask him one or two questions at a time so that he is clear on what he wants to say, what your client wants to say. Be brief. Don't confusingly ask lengthy questions. Don't too much of questioning and all that. Don't ask irrelevant, touchy questions. Oh, you come from this community. Don't ask such touchy questions. It could be on caste or it could be on your financial background. Don't ask such things. Oh, your parents are not qualified or not educated. Don't ask touchy questions. Don't ask irrelevant questions. So when you question also, you should know what to question. Keeping silent at times is very good. I already told you. I've also said that non-verbal behavior of the client needs a lot of attention. So please pay attention. Even in class as a teacher, we need to be very sensitive to non-verbal communication, because today we see that depression, especially post-COVID, there are children who are getting very restless in class, very angry. 2 years of break from the regular schooling has made a lot of children restless and angry, and some of them are getting depressed. So we did a research study also where depression seems to be on the rise, okay, because they did not know to relate to people. They did not get an opportunity to relate to people. And therefore, when they came out, they feel withdrawn. And so be sensitive to this nonverbal behavior, especially as a teacher. You see, if your child if any student is withdrawing, is not very sociable, encourage them to share, laugh, play games. Those are very important. Academics is only one aspect of a teacher's job. but well-being is a more holistic. Well-being includes academics also. We are more interested in the well-being of the child and the well-being of the community. So as teachers and as counselors, we have a very important role to see that. Take interest in the students' academics, but more important is the overall well-being. If he's having a very overall well-being, academics will definitely, be part of that entire well-being itself. So focus on that well-being itself. Encourage your children to share a talk in class. So at least they say a good teacher spends at least 10 minutes out of syllabus. Okay, not trying to cover the syllabus or something. 10 minutes of interactive session. It could be from a newspaper, it could be about a movie, it could be about anything. Discuss something, or about the neighborhood, about what's happening in other schools, anything that you can relate to a student. So even in a counselor's client relationship, you can spend a little time with the client talking something general, just to say that is a way of connecting or rapport building. What we say as rapport building is very important. Empathy is very important. I already told you empathy is very important. There's something called advanced level empathy. There is something called primary level empathy. At primary level empathy, you are, empathizing with whatever the client, whatever the student says. At an advanced level, after some time, you can step one step ahead and then ask some probing question. Till then, don't ask probing questions because you still don't know the client. He might. At the counselor is also supposed to paraphrase, after every session, say, this is what I understood. This is what you're going through. So the client gets a feeling, yes, my counselor is in track with me and is understanding what I am wanting to say. So that's very important. Are you all understanding? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I hear only known voices and I saw something like about 25 odd participants. Yes, anybody else? Are you with me?
We are listening like
Yes,
students.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. I'm happy. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll just take a little more of your time before I wind up.
Madam, please unmute. Madam. Madam, your voice is not audible.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll just run through a few more just points. Interpersonal skills are very important. So be an emotionally intelligent person. As a counselor, you need to be emotionally intelligent. You also need to be having developed skills that are very necessary for counseling. Develop a sense of trust in your client. That's very important. Okay. These are some of the things that I thought I should share. And since Professor Reddy says I can cut short, yeah, be a little flexible with your client because there's no need to be very rigid or forceful when you're doing counseling. Be flexible. There's nothing like, these are the only characteristics of a counselor. You can have your own, depending on your client, see that you're able to be a little flexible and imbibe certain things. What I generally do in a class session is, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yeah, madam, you are audible.
So in a class session, I usually say, You write whatever your strengths are on one side, and on the other side, write whatever are your shortcomings or your drawbacks or your shortcomings or your negatives. Now, whatever are your strengths, and develop those strengths in you. That is also what are the characteristics required for a counselor. So you grow on those strengths and see that whatever negative, because as a counselor, as a teacher, we also need to see that we are role models to our students. So see that your negatives are minimum or absolutely not there at all. Try and go to that stage and see that you have a lot of positives in you, because positivity gets reflected, or there's a sort of a bouncing that takes place, and a balloon effect is created because positivity keeps growing. So be positive and encourage positivity in children so that we have a better future. As counselors and as teachers, you have a great responsibility. So we will take that responsibility and shoulder it and see that we bring about a better future. Thank you, Dr. Reddy, for giving me this opportunity to share a little of what I am aware of.
Yeah, first of all, I should say thanks to you. Why? Because your lecture was like a river. I request you one or two lectures, you kindly oblige and just before completion of this training program.
Okay, I wish the participants, can we have a reflection from the participants, Govinda Reddy sir?
Yeah, naturally.
Yes. Yeah, if a few participants say they benefited, then I would be happy, because each of us complimenting each other is, of course, welcome. But then did the participants benefit?
Definitely,
Yes,
definitely.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Your session was extremely informative, and we all are really benefited, and it was of immense importance for all of us who are into school counseling. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we are uploading to YouTube also. Then we will expect many more views. Why not?
Okay, thank you.
Now, Dr. Cindy Simon.
Ma'am, thank you very much. Your session was very informative and very enriching also. You have given us a lot of information about what is counseling and the importance of professionality in counseling, and counselors' characteristics, especially to have unconditional positive regard towards the clients, as well as good understanding of the client's issues and all. And what I am attracted to was to have consistency in behavior of the counselor, and to have good communication skills, where by being active listeners and being sensitive to verbal and non-verbal communication of the clients, we will be very much, it will be very much helpful for the counselor to give proper counseling and find solutions, which is very apt to the issues of the clients. Thank you very much, ma'am. We have gained a lot definitely through this session. I once again thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I wish many more, much more participation from you, and so that we will be enriched more with many of these counseling issues. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.